I combed through some of your stuff, your website and everything. I saw that you had a lot of emphasis on healthcare, a lot of emphasis on empowering small businesses and local American industries, and then also a lot about transparency, which all of the above, I'm eating it up. But I did want to talk to you a little bit about, and especially you being from Georgia, the situation we're seeing right now with women's reproductive health care, especially being in a red state that has already become one of the most restrictive in the country when it comes to abortion access. And then we covered this last week, but the recent Trump executive order that is no longer basically taking away emergency abortions. And yeah, I just kind of want to hear your stance on that and what you would do if you were elected, and kind of how that impacts your life and how it impacts your constituents.
So first off, my big superheroes in my life are women. My mom, my sister, my grandma, they're all the strongest pillars of my family. And with that, they taught me that's my damn body. That's not up to you or me. It's up to them. And I'm very big on women's reproductive rights. That's for them. But also living the life I've had and meeting people, miscarriages are very common. Difficult having children, or just in general, it's very difficult. You need these regulations to protect them. People don't speak on it because it's a negative connotation, but we need to bring that to light. There's an instance of Adriana Smith that happened in Georgia. She was pregnant, and I believe with the lack of health care, because they saw her as a number, they just gave her pain pills. She had a aneurysm, or was it a clot, but pretty much ended up going brain dead. And she had a child. So now, not only can they not pull the cord, she's brain dead, living with a baby that's probably going to have health defects. The parents or the family is going to have to deal with the medical bills of that. That is the thing of these primitive Stone Age type of laws that they say, oh, that doesn't happen. It happens all the time. Yet hospitals are very scared. They're afraid. They're saying, hey, with her care, they were passing her around to different hospitals because they understand that it's unfair that her family has to deal with that. It's unfair that she has to deal with that. It's unfair for the baby. Let's be honest, because who's going to take care of that baby? I hate that narrative, the state or the family. It's hard already to take care of an able-bodied child, a child that is disabled and it's so much more, and it's unfair. And I understand life happens and things happen, but we need to fight for our women. It's not her body. Old men that lived in the 1940s and 60s shouldn't be making these laws and regulations. And again, Roe versus Wade already got passed. Why are we reverting back? Why are we cutting back? What's the point of that? We got over this many, many years ago. Why are we coming back to it? That makes no sense in my eyes. We knew what it was before, but now you guys want to bring it up? That's bullshit. We need to be fighting for our women. I'm going to fight for them in Congress. I know damn well my mom and my sister are going to be yelling at me, as well as my grandma, like, you better fucking fight for us, because that is who I am as a man. We need to fight for our women. If I ever have another kid, I have a son, but if I ever have a kid and she's a daughter, I want her to look and say, that man fought for me. That man knows and has an ethos of he cares for everyone. And again, it's just feels basic to me in my eyes. So that's my stance on that.
Beautiful.
Claire, whenever someone talks about fighting for, women and they have daughters, how can I not show my daughter and why it's so important to fight for children? This is my daughter when she was about 1.
Oh.
She's precious.
Yeah. So Jonathan, well said. We need it. And to add to, and Claire, I'm sorry, just expand on what he said.
Yeah, please.
One of the reasons I found out that they like to do this is because they understand that the gap between white and minorities is shrinking. And they also know that the majority of people that get abortions, as much as they like to vilify minorities, is not minorities. It's white women.
And look like me.
Yeah, and not only that look like Claire, but to let's really dig deep into it. They're in the South. And the more they can get rid of, the more they can have these women bear children, whether they want it or not. We're breeding more white people. We're kicking the can down the road where the minorities become the majority. And we also are able to better indoctrinate these people with the MAGA mindset if it's happening in the places where MAGA is prevalent. Floors, back to you, Claire.
Yeah, on top of that, it's also perpetuating a free, cheap labor force. The number one thing, the reason that poverty is a cycle is because if you have a child and you're already in poverty, it's become exponentially more difficult to climb out of said poverty. And so if you further restrict people's decision-making abilities when it comes to when and where to have children, specifically women, then you're going to have a ton of people who are not well educated, who need quick, easy jobs, who are willing to accept really, really low wages in order to make ends meet, and who don't have the resources to fight back if they recognize that they're being abused by the corporations. And so not only is it a eugenics thing, like you just talked about, Lamont, where we need to perpetuate the white race. And I got a lot of weird feedback when my most viral TikTok in the past couple months has been one where I talked about white guilt. And the first people who came to my post were actually neo-Nazis. And then I don't know how the algorithm turned it around, but it suddenly got on the side of Black TikTok. Thank God. I mean, and originally I wanted, in a weird way, the neo-Nazis and the MAGAs to get the message. But I realized, unfortunately, the verbiage I was using, they already were labeling me as woke, and they were already putting me into another category. So some of them, I had a few people that were white and reached out and were like, I'd never thought of it this way. That to me, 2 or 3 people, I've won. I've done what I needed to, because the Black people don't need to hear this shit. But it's crazy, and I've told Lamont this, how many people were in my comments saying, you're blonde and blue-eyed. Why are you cowering to the Black race? You need to perpetuate the white race, as if I'm some sort of breeding machine to create blue-eyed, blonde-haired people. Maybe I will have kids. Maybe I won't. Maybe my husband will be Black. It's none of your damn business, because I don't care if my kids have blue eyes or not. I care if they live in a safe country and they have opportunities, and the people beside them maybe don't look like them or maybe don't talk like them, but they respect them. That's what I care about. And so, yes, I applaud your response. And I also think it's not just a women's issue, it's an economic issue as well. It's very closely tied to our economic system. And people who are Republicans who try to claim that it's all about protecting and saving lives, they don't give a shit once the baby comes out, which tells you what their real agenda is, which is to create a very cheap and accessible working class so they can throw them in factories and keep producing bullshit. So amazing.
Let
Go
JB
ahead.
jump back in.
Yeah, even with that, I tell people in Georgia, a statistic just came out. It takes $99,000 to live comfortably in Georgia. That's one person. If you want to have a family, it's 236,000. That's a family of 4. I'm gonna be honest. Statistically, I think the national average of what people bring in is about 50,000. In Georgia, it's around 50,000 as well. So does that make sense? 2 people can only do 1 person. So that we have to start talking. No one talks about daycare. If anyone knows, as a young person, a millennial, you want to go daycare, that's a mortgage. That is a car note. That is something that the government should have been jumped in and things like that. Oh, why aren't they having kids? Because I can't take care of this child without being homeless. You don't give us the incentive. So we need to, like you said, it's a cycle. Everything's connected. Job Corps being dismantled, yet I believe I saw on the military website a lot more incentives to go into the military and things like that. That's a weird coincidence when we start to take away incentives of not going into the military and doing a influential thing in career or trade, and we're going straight into the military. It's a pipeline when we need to stop that.
Yep. And kind of weird how expensive higher education has become. But if you go to a military academy, it's free as long as you pay it back with years of your life. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Facts. What's your next question, Claire?
Second question, and all I have left for you. But so I grew up right outside of DC in Alexandria, Virginia. Third generation of, well, so my grandfather worked for the government, lots of family that worked for the government, both my parents. And when my mom was growing up in the DC area, the vast majority of her friends' parents, her peers' parents were either military, like Congress, or worked on the Hill, something related to the government. When I was growing up, most of my friends' parents were lobbyists. They were real estate developers. They were corporate lawyers. But the lobbyists really irk the shit out of me. And I've talked to Lamont about this. It is legalized corruption, in my opinion. With that being said, I've heard all about your stance on transparency, and also on your stance with supporting smaller businesses, not giant corporations. I would love to hear what you think about lobbying, and what your ideal America would look like. Would it have lobbyists, or would there be restrictions, etc.? Yeah.
I like to say not at all. I don't believe they should even be there. They're the people trying to influence, speaking on the behalf of corporations and people in higher places. That makes no sense. And I understand it makes it very difficult. I want to put people's mindset. I think in Australia, it takes $32 million just for the prime minister and his Democratic Party to fund those candidates and do things like that. That's just a minor gap for a presidential campaign. And where's the money coming from? I'm telling you, it's not coming from the working class. It's corporations throwing it there, from Republican to Democrat and things like that. We need to get rid of that. I think the reason why the youth doesn't really connect with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, it's because they hear that narrative of it's corporations, it's lobbyists, it's people throwing millions of dollars that can't relate to me into this race, and they corrupt these politicians to having to make these horrible decisions and things like that. Sorry, but with that being said, we need to get rid of that. We don't need them to be here. We need to be transparent in our information. I know we have it in open source where you get donations, but we really need to make that more accessible and easier to read through and see and say who donated, who was his bigger donors. I think Zoran Mandami, the New York mayor, he broke down his donations. And I loved it when it said, I think he has 85% of small like donations, $80 and below are donating to him. And then the rest were like minor, like 10% or less than that were big donations and things like that. I love to see that, because that tells me you're a people person first. You're not selling your soul to these big organizations and these big PACs and stuff like that. So I think in my campaign right now, that's the difficult thing. You see candidates say, hey, I raised $100,000 in 2 days. I can tell you for a fact it's not, because you got the grassroots, you got the people giving you that much money. You're a scientist, you went to Harvard, you own car dealerships. You can write your own check and say, I don't need to fundraise. And that's the part we need to get rid of. We need to hit cap limits on these, how would you say, these campaigns, so they can't be misused. You can't be tempted to do horrible things when you get into office and things like that. So I'm here to be transparent, call people out on their bullshit, regardless if you're Democratic, Republican. It has to be called out, because as a working class American, we need to know who we're voting for and who you sold your soul to. Because if you didn't sell your soul, I feel much better giving money to you, because I know it's genuine. I know you need that money. But that's my spill on that.
Yeah. No, I could not agree anymore if it were possible. And I do think it's kind of funny when I think back on my friends' parents who were lobbyists. Spineless people, not the parents that I wanted to be around. Hateful parents, mean parents. I mean, and it makes sense because they were selling their soul. I had a lot of friends whose families had a ton of money, and they always had a certain car that their whole family owned. And it was because the dad lobbied for this specific car company. And his job was to go to Capitol Hill and fight against eco programs and green energy because, hey, this car company is giving me and my family free cars so that I can go and pester everybody in our government until they cave, because I have unlimited time and resources. In fact, I'm getting paid a lot of money to go and hang out and bother people. Meanwhile, you and I, we don't have time to take off work for sickness, for a kid being in the hospital, for whatever, let alone to go and sit outside of some person's door in the Senate and say, hey, have you thought about my new bill proposal? Have you thought about my new bill? So yes, when I went to Spain, actually, in college, I spent 5 months abroad. I did a semester there, and they have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. And Obama actually studied their healthcare system when he was trying to do Obamacare, and set it all up. But anyway, I worked at a facility for people infected with AIDS and HIV. And I talked to a lot of people there and basically just described what our healthcare system is like, how our government works. And I told them, about how ambulances cost money. And they could not believe it. And I said, if you get sick in the US and you need to go to the hospital, someone drives you. Unless you're bleeding out from a gunshot wound, someone drives you. And they were like, what? And then second thing I told them about was, so we have these things called lobbyists. Large companies pay them, and then they go and they bother everyone who's making the laws until they can change the laws. And the more money you have, the more lobbyists you can hire. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, so it's just legal corruption. And I was like,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I think also looking to other countries and figuring out what are y'all doing, and can we do that? Can we adjust? And what good would come from that? Is also very valuable, because we get so stuck in, this is just the American way. We've never had healthcare, so why would we get it now? We can do it. We do have the resources. We have the funds. We have the taxpayer money. It's just going to other shit.
And one of my viral videos, the first thing I said was tax the rich. It's very simple. You guys, these are billionaires. I think the difference people have to understand is there's a difference between rich and wealthy. Yes. I have friends that were once rich, and that is probably about $7 million and below. Let's be real. But when you get to that 50 million plus, if you lose $10 million, it sucks, but hey, I still have $40 million. I can still have a plethora of things. My family's good. I have generational money. Everything's going to be okay. When it comes to these people that are in our government and trying to save these big tax the rich laws and things like that, if you tax them just a little bit more, I mean, let's say 5% more, they wouldn't hurt the money. The money wouldn't hurt them. They would be okay. They would still be financially growing. We could get simplistic things. No ambulance don't cost any money. Children don't have to pay for school lunches. Let's say this, for instance, Elon, him being a billionaire. If $1 billion went into anyone's economy, we could have Medicare for all, for just that one state. Let's be honest, probably multiple states. But that is the thing where people have to stop getting this mindset of I'm a broke billionaire or a broke millionaire right now. You guys are probably not going to be there, but not in a negative way. But stop bailing these people out. Stop arguing for them. They are trying to not help you. They're not for you. You are seen as a number. Tax them, make them pay their way. They're not going to run away and say, oh, they're going to another country. They're not. They're ingrained. They understand that they have power here. Let's be real. So let's get them to actually pay their fair share. Stop having tax breaks for these big corporations, these rich 1%ers, and do something about our lives. We can fix a lot more about the US if we just tax them, if we stop allowing these lobbyists to speak on their behalves and things like that.
Period.
I'll summarize. Go ahead, Claire.
I'll just be quick, but I mean, I saw this in my own life. I grew up upper middle class, And then I went to boarding school for high school, and I was all of a sudden around people whose great grandfathers owned plantations, and they had generational wealth down so many generations you couldn't even fathom it. And I felt, and I've told Lamont this, I felt poor. My parents made, and I'll be transparent, my parents made over 200K a year, I think, most of my life, maybe up to 300, I don't know, something in that range. They both worked for the government. They had great benefits. I grew up first going to public schools where I was the rich kid. And then all of a sudden I end up at this boarding school where people are the top 0.0001%. And I couldn't afford to go on spring break with them. I couldn't afford to go shopping with them. And so I was seeing in real time, oh, I'm 1%. This is 0.01%. This is crazy.
You're not even 1%. And that's why I tell people, unless you're making, let's be $1 million a year, you're probably not in that 1%. So stop trying to speak on their behalf. Stop trying to fight for them.
It's these wannabe billionaires who are never going to get there, who are like, oh, I need to protect these billionaires for when someday when I'm a billionaire so that no one takes my $1 billion. It's like, no one's even trying to take your $1 billion. Maybe they're taking a quarter of it. Maybe even not that much, but the amount of an impact that would make is unfathomable for the little people like us. So anyway, Lamont, please.
Well, I'm gonna get JB out of here. Thank you for being so gracious with your time, and we really hope you've enjoyed being here. We hope the audience has enjoyed this lively discussion. And JB, I'm gonna give you the last word. I want to summarize a lot of what you both said in the last 2 minutes with something I've been preaching, because one of these days I'm thinking I might have to jump in this thing and run for office, just considering the experiences I've been through. When it comes to two issues, number one, the Republican Party for years have been good at priming their people through their echo chambers of Rush Limbaugh, talk radio, Fox News. And now you've got, thousands of little mini fake ass Rush Limbaughs on the internet still helping to do the priming. And one thing that they've primed people to believe in is wrong to take something from the government. When I always have to be the only, and I live in a very, very red county, and I tend to get on old and new MAGA's nerves because I'm versed in business because I've done it. I'm versed in medicine because I've done it. I'm versed in childcare because I've owned childcare property and been working in childcare. And sometimes I get on their nerves because I can challenge them on every lie that they throw at me. And I always say, why are you guys telling people who are poor to have all this pride and not take from the government when you rich motherfuckers is behind closed doors lobbying every politician to give you tax breaks? You're lobbying politicians to bring Amazon here, give them $5 million upfront, build this building, and then not let them pay taxes for 10 years, only for sometimes, not all the time, but for that building to shut down, and then the county is stuck with a bill. When if you was to take that same damn money and spread it across what Republicans used to like, which is supposed to be small business in the community that's the backbone, you could enrich that same community with the people in the community that would then attract more people to come to that community because you spent that same money trying to bring in a damn Amazon on the people in the damn community. That's number one. Number two, I don't understand. Well, I do understand it, but I think it's wrong. Democrats need to push that message I said, you said, and Claire said, that one of the major points of the government is to help the middle class and the poor get to a point where we're not having to rely on the rich people to continue to set the narrative, because when they vote, it counts a little more than the middle class and poor, because not only are they voting, but they're spending all this money to set the narrative and set the people we have to vote for, which are already bought. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, JB gets the last word. Tell people how they can reach you, what they can do to support you, and generally, overall, how can they find you?
Well, you guys can find me on my website, Bonner, BONNER, for Congress. That's my website, and that's all my socials, so you can look me up there. final thoughts, I want to tell people my life is very crazy. You could say it's a pity and things like that. I don't need a pity vote. I need you guys to understand the ethos of me as a man. And I am a man of resilience, and I am here to show you guys, or my life should show you that I'm resilient. I'm going to fight. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to be here when it's raining. I'm going to be here when it's sunny and things like that. And that's the type of people you want to fight for you. That's the type of people that you want in DC, because you know they're going to be genuine. You know they feel you. You know you're going to see them out in public, in grocery stores, and not in some high-end place. I don't come for money. I wish I did sometimes, because I think life would be a lot easier. But in that essence, I want you guys to start to be more, pay attention, do your research, look into your candidates, see if they align with you, see where they get their money from, because eventually that's going to make sense why they voted in that certain way and things like that. I care for everyone, regardless of any political affiliation and things like that. So I never want to ostracize anyone, because at the end of the day, as a congressman, you're going to have constituents that don't like you. You're going to have constituents that are Republican or whatever. But at the end of the day, they should know that man still cares for me. If he saw me out with a, unfortunately, red MAGA hat, he's still going to be, hey, I care for you. You might be a little delusional, but I'm going to fight for you still. But that's my spill. And if you guys support your grassroots candidate, support the person you know, support the one you know the money's not going to go anywhere else, and donate. My big thing is it doesn't have to take a lot. $25, $20. Don't eat Chipotle for 2 days or 3 days. I don't know. And support the person who helps you. Support the person that's going to better your life. And that's it.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like this video and go support this brother. Again, JB will get a copy of this whole entire live stream so that he can chop it up so that you can hear these good messages that he said. And if you want to hear it all in its entirety, well, you can come to the podcast. The link is there for Spotify. You can also leave us a message at bit.ly/talk to us. You can always find me all over the place. You know where Claire is at. And you can check out a link on this channel that says the Claremont Show.